Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Vic, Brian, and Lynette. How's it going, everyone?
What it do?
Hello.
How's it going?
In this episode, we're taking a trip to the afterlife and back again. We're talking about YuYu Hakusho, the occult action comedy series of the early 90s. This is based on a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Yoshihiro Togashi, an anime adaptation consisting of 112 episodes, aired in Japan from October 92 through December 94. This is an early mid-90s series. It was later licensed in North America by Funimation in 2001, where it aired on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim and later on Toonami and kind of jumped around a little bit. The YuYu Hakusho franchise spawned 2 animated films, a series of OVAs, audio albums, video games. It took off. This thing was huge. This is a unique experience for most of us since this series was made in the early 90s, but it didn't really make it to the West until the 2000s, which is sort of our threshold for things, but since it is technically a 90s anime...
It counts. It counts.
Exactly, it counts.
Well allowed.
And to add to that, I think all of us, with the exception of Lynette, had never actually seen it. Am I correct?
Correct.
The plot thickens. Whoa! This is the first time that she brought something for us?
Yeah, this is the first...
None of us have watched.
Yeah, this is the first one that none of us except Lynette have seen. So we flipped the script on her. She's flipped the script on us, rather, this episode. So it's pretty exciting. One
of my biscuits call me Sally.
Right. So YuYu Hakusho, it's 112 episodes. So I wanted to preface this with, I did not watch 112 episodes for this podcast recording, but I did watch about 9 or 10 of them, mostly in sequential order, and then I kind of hopped around a little. And my reasoning was I wanted to get a feel for how the story goes and, narratively, like where it goes, animation quality, how to improve, all these things. And I figured I couldn't get that from just the first 10. I kind of had to like skip around and catch a little bit. How far did you guys get?
I guess I'll go first since I know mine's insignificant because, real life gets in the way sometimes. I've only was able to make it into about 5 episodes. So about a little over 2 hours movies worth. And I actually do plan to keep on watching.
Cool. Brian, about how much did you get done?
Well, I made it all the way to the Dark Tournament arc. I'm not sure how many episodes I lost count.
That episode. You made it to that episode of the Dark Tournament.
Yeah, actually...
Is that where they were fighting in the dark?
No, when they're fighting in the tournament.
In the tournament, okay. So it's after what I was watching. Yeah.
It's and that's kind of something I definitely wanted to touch on. So when I started this anime does a great job of shattering my preconceptions. I started this fully expecting it to be like an occult detective series, right? Because it starts out very much like that. It starts out with the whole he's dead and he's gonna become the underworld detective, and he's gonna go around and catch demon criminals or whatnot. And then this thing just flips the script about halfway through the first season, and suddenly
Dragon Ball Z.
It goes full Dragon Ball Z. 100%. And that is absolutely the note I wrote, is that it goes from occult detective to Dragon Ball. That's hardcore. This goes. And I loved that. I loved that because I honestly, I was not looking forward to having to watch a whole bunch of occult detective. So when it finally flipped on me, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we're going this route. And I mean, the DNA was there early on.
And
like
I think what happened was we were expecting 3x3 Eyes, the animated series.
Would I
Right,
do
we were.
that to you guys?
No.
Look. Once I saw the third eye come out from here, I was like, Cayenne Wings back. I was like,
Oh.
okay, look, they're leaning heavy into it. Oh my God, he died. He's Yakumo. This is Yakumo. They
Right?
even gave the same Y name. I was like, okay. Oh, is he trying to do a spirit bomb? This went straight Dragon Ball. What the?
I was just secretly getting back at the 3x3 guys.
So what I will say is that I enjoyed that part of it in the episodes I've watched. Is I enjoyed that it took the occult stuff, but the Japanese occult is boy, those guys have got stories. Their occult is so rich with lore, and it took a lot of those concepts and it did put them into a narrative that didn't involve a wooden vagina, which was a lovely step forward. But no, it made it a little more lighthearted, a little more fun. I was having a good time with it when it started. Say that I even wrote a note about it because as the self-proclaimed animation nerd, the first 4 episodes are hard. It is very much an early 90s anime series. It feels like it looks like an early 90s anime series. So the animation quality is not there. And then episode 5 hits and that just ramps. Like it ramped up significantly in quality. And much like Super Dimension Fortress Macross, the series has episodes that are where there's parts of the animation where it's like, okay, they brought in their B team, and then a lot of it is A team material. It's just common for series, especially Japanese anime series. And I thought once the animation quality kicked up, I was like, all right, I can watch this. Like I'm into it. Because at first I was like, man, I don't know if I can do 112 episodes of this. This feels like I don't know.
Hard watch.
Yeah, just because it looked so rough. But it did improve.
For me, the first 4 episodes felt so slow in getting to what it was, and I almost gave up on it. I was like, you know what?
You can't pull
I'm
an
not
Akira
sure.
on everything.
Well, let's talk about this now. So the first episode, we talk about Yusuke Urameshi, who is and it took me 3 or 4 episodes before this really sank in, a middle schooler. It's a middle schooler, and he's got this bad boy rep. Like he's this tough kid.
The whole delinquent.
Yeah, he's a delinquent, right?
He was delinquent Hokage before it was cool.
And his rival is what I have to say so laughable. Kuwabara with his pompadour haircut and his tough
like
boy
spiral?
attitude.
He didn't
Oh
like
my
Red pompadour haircut.
red
So-
pompadour haircut.
We're going to jump ahead for a little bit, but they actually talked about the whole live action that's about to be made for it, and they were talking about who is the perfect person to play Kuwabara, and they said it should be Blake Griffin, basketball player. They showed a picture. He looks just like him.
He's got the hair with the man.
With the hair, because he naturally has the hair.
You
But I
can't.
can see Blake Griffin with the pompadour.
I have a
No.
feeling he can't pull off being a middle schooler.
There's that. There's that part. They didn't pull off being a middle schooler very well themselves.
Seriously, they did not.
Yeah,
No,
I can see it.
these characters were not middle schoolers, man. So yeah, Kuwabara's pompadour hair was just too damn much for me, and he was supposed to be the tough guy. And the way that he's animated, I do appreciate this. His character design he is not an attractive guy, and they do not shy away from that. His nose is upturned, his eyes are slit. He's got this like hard cheek. He looks like he ugly. But and then we're treated to like a whole, I don't know, it's like 3rd or 4th episode in, we're treated to a whole character development episode for this supporting character right away. And I was like, oh man, they're gonna make this. I'm gonna have to deal with this guy for 112 episodes. Like this isn't like the mom, who, by the way, let's talk about the mom.
Oh,
Wow. Just
Terrible mom.
just wow. That is some class A parenting right there. And
At least
I-
Naruto, they took the mom and dad away.
so I was worried as I'm like, she's in the intro. I'm like, they're gonna use her a lot, right? I'm gonna have to put up with this drunk, useless woman for the whole series. And luckily you don't, at least as far as I can tell.
But she starts to
But
fade out.
yeah,
Once in
so
a
I'm like,
while.
man, I don't need this. So circling back, we're treated to a whole character building episode for Kuwabara. It shows how honorable he is and how he's willing to do the right thing for all the people. And I was like, okay, he's gonna be Ken to Ryu here. That's just what's gonna happen.
He's gonna be the sidekick.
The Vegeta. He's the Vegeta to the Goku.
No. We haven't gotten to that part yet. We know who Goku is. Man, I feel like everything we have done has led us to this whole. Like, we have had so many callbacks. I love that. I don't know how we're planning on how we're making our plan for this, but it feels like we're building on it. And
right. Well, I mean,
that.
because it's so 90s, and it is so 90s, and a lot of the stuff reads obvious. Keiko, obvious, typical female love interest from an early 90s anime. And of course, we have to establish our hero as a sex offender immediately. It's very important.
That's great. Yeah.
It's very important that if he's not, labeled a pervert early on, then it's not a 90s anime.
Not enough to be a delinquent. No.
That's right. He can't just be a delinquent.
He's a perverted delinquent.
Lifting a skirt between friends. I mean,
Yeah.
But yo, that actually
come
comes
back
back.
and like kicks him in the face. So
I don't know if you saw the episode, but that actually comes back into play.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like 2-3 episodes in where he gropes her to get her to recognize that it's him, which I thought was hilarious.
Even past that, there's actually an arc where he's doing his spirit detectiving.
Detective work?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's detecting for the spirits.
He's filming the shit out of it.
Right. And in this mission, they are trying to get a kidnapped spirit, kidnapped ice apparition, and one of the people he has to fight actually is transgender. So he figures out either like Kuwabara gets upset because you can't hit a girl. He said, "Well, let's find out." He jumps at her to figure out that she's not she still has her plumbing.
He does the check.
He
Does the Goku check?
He actually checks, and then okay, we can beat her up now. We're good.
So I think it's the 5th episode where the mom is out doing her drunk mom thing, and she's at a trans bar, which was an immediate callback to 3x3 Eyes for me. I'm like, sure, she's hanging out at a trans bar, and and this is all about the occult. I was like,
yo, it
gonna come
does
out.
feel like payback. It really does feel like payback for that.
yeah. Oh man.
So there's a couple of questions we actually get to ask that we've never. Where Lynette's the first person to ask. Like, well, Lynette, how did you find this one?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Absolutely. So yeah, Lynette, like Brian said, how did you end up on YuYu Hakusho?
How did I find it?
Yeah.
Insomnia night in college while I was doing some homework, and it popped up. Because then all I heard was, and suddenly he was dead. And then I looked, and I was like, what?
This was during her goth phase, apparently.
That's right.
That was like 3 seconds into episode 1.
So the first time, so you watched it in English, obviously, right? Because it was when Funimation released it on Cartoon Network. I think that's about the time.
Late night study, don't want to really think about homework type thing. And that's what drew me in was I was just watching. I was like, what is this dude doing in a green jumpsuit? I'm gonna go back to my calc. I'm gonna go back to my calculus now. And then all of a sudden it goes, and suddenly he was dead. And I was like, what? What happened? What's going on?
It's like attention grabbed.
This made its rounds, right? It was on Cartoon Network, and then first it was on Adult Swim, and then it later moved to Toonami, and it jumped around a couple other time slots. Like I wasn't sure. I don't think they knew what they wanted to do with it, because they did have to edit it, because of course localizations being what they are, they reduced the amount of violence and the sexual humor and the coarse language and stuff like that.
I will say I did not watch all the episodes in order. It's kind of like when you guys got the VHS. I got and suddenly he was dead, and then I got the guy with the rose whip, and then I got the battle, and then and I'm sitting there going, "What is happening?"
Everything's out of order.
Now this eventually it made its way to Funimation and Crunchyroll, so now it's there now.
So the next question is, exactly how far into your anime journey did YuYu fall for you?
Did I follow YuYu? I think
I mean, like, I know it's after Sailor Moon.
Sure.
Mhm.
So
Yes,
where
after
was
Sailor
it?
Moon.
Which we have to
Had
do
you-
someday. I'm just saying.
Had you already had the anime bug yet, or were you
Oh yeah,
still...
yeah. I had already gotten the anime bug. But didn't go on the internet. I had dial-up still. I mean, this is when you had like Netscape and AOL, and I was too young to go try to find VHS, and then I went to college, and then I was too poor to find anything. So it was mostly through my friends where I found stuff, and then of course, Nami, Adult Swim,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like a lot of people's first animes were Toonami, right? I think Dragon Ball Z for me was Toonami. Yeah, so it's a lot of people for a lot of firsts. A lot of the younger generations, they found like Super Dimension Fortress Macross. They found that through Robotech, which aired on Toonami, and again, Dragon Ball was Toonami, and a whole bunch of stuff. Toonami was great back in the day. You could find all kinds of great stuff on there.
Yeah, they did the adult anime late at night. So if you
Yeah.
have insomnia, they did the unrated for a little while where you could watch it where they swear and they do
Oh hell yeah. It was awesome. I think that was the first time I finished Gundam Wing was Toonami. Before that, it was bootlegs I found from the local anime shop by Brian's College in Tampa. That's another episode in the future. This whole thing, I'm going to circle back on this a little bit. So this whole thing starts out with him dying, which we've established very early on. And he spends the whole first episode floating around with Botan, who is easily the cutest Reaper ever to exist. But it did. I had a question 5 episodes in, and I was like, doesn't she have dead people to help? Like, because she's not going anywhere. She's really hanging out with this one dead dude.
It's like she's really bad at her job.
Like, I feel like there's a whole line of people waiting to be ferried, and it's just not happening. So I don't know if that ever got addressed, but in the episodes I watched, no, she's still just kind of hanging out with them.
No, she's his designated person.
So I feel like this is like Dead Like Me, the TV series, where it's just like a shit ton of Reapers, and she's just like one of them, and that's this is her human. She's assigned to.
She's a social caseworker.
Well, yeah, and then she becomes his assistant detective. So I was like, is that a demotion from being the Grim Reaper, or is this like a sideways promotion at work thing where it's like, oh, you don't have to ferry dead people anymore. Now you're investigating them. She's basically the worst Reaper ever, or the best sidekick ever. I don't know. She does turn out to be pretty badass though.
Yes.
So I watched the first 5 episodes, and then I jumped around a bit because I wanted, like I had mentioned before, I wanted to see where the story went. I wanted to see narratively how this flows, because I didn't want to talk about it without having a sense of scope. I knew that by episode 5 the animation had improved, but I didn't know where the story was going to go, so I kind of cheated a bit and I jumped around. But she does seem to come into her own as a character, and is a lot more than just a Reaper. And this whole thing goes very Dragon Ball. Not Dragon Ball Z so much, but very Dragon Ball in the first couple episodes, when he has to go to the afterlife and he meets what's his name? Enema? I forgot his name. And he gets the baby egg. He has to do the baby egg experiment.
Dude, how long were you holding that in? How long were you holding that, dude?
I wrote it down because I didn't hear, like, I just didn't write down his actual name. Because when the first time I heard his name said, I was like, Enema? That's a weird name. So then I saw later it's something else. But he gets the little egg timer thing, and I like how everything in the beginning is very much a trial of his character. Let's see if he's worth keeping around and doing this. Yeah, if he's worth doing this job that they're about to give him, which ultimately ends up being his job for a handful of episodes, and then the rest of the time he's fighting. But it's cool. I dug that. Like, the first 4 episodes, a lot of character building, but not necessarily for him. A lot of it felt like building up. I have a rule when it comes to watching anything, TV series, animation, live action, doesn't matter. And it's called the rule of 3, which means the series has 3 episodes to grab my attention enough or make me care about even one character enough to want to keep watching the entire series. It's a lot harder when I already know that is 112 episodes of this, or 7 seasons of it, or whatever it is I'm about to get into. But the rule of 3, it's a basic rule. So by episode 3 of this, we were doing the Kuwabara character piece, and by then I still didn't give a shit about Yusuke. It was just, here's this dead kid.
Who the is YuYu? Why did they do that to you?
As in, common with a lot of these anime is the title basically has nothing to do with the series, but in this one it does. So I guess YuYu Hakusho is translation for Poltergeist Report. That's what I read. Mindless musing there. So kind of plays into the whole idea, detective thing.
Well, I sound like an idiot, don't I?
No, because like 3x3 Eyes, right? Like that was a name. They just like, what the is this? There's a lot of those anime titles that just made no sense, and you're just like, well, whatever. But this one did have a translation, so good to them. And like, what are all the little extra letters at the end of Dragon Ball? Z, GT, nobody knows. Some of the notes I had here. Oh, this was fun. All right, so in episode 4, I have issues with episode 4. I'm just gonna. I know that we push past this and it turns into Dragon Ball and it becomes great, but episode 4 had me. I had a lot of questions. For one, they decided to keep his corpse in a house, in the mom's house, because the mom discovers he has a heartbeat. It's like, hey, he has a heartbeat. I'm like, cool. So no doctor. We're just gonna keep the body here in this house with the heartbeat.
She is drunk. So
We're gonna pull him out the coffin.
Just blame the alcohol.
Put him in a futon. We're just gonna leave him here on the floor. It'll be fine.
Put a blanket on him because he may be cold.
And then, because she's the worst mom ever, the house is literally a garbage dump and gets set on fire. Like, it's horrible. So,
like, not just like, oh my gosh, the whole thing is, it should have been a crematorium.
it was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah, I the amount of on the floor when the so at first, and this is on me for kind of half-heartedly watching at that point, but I thought it was Keiko's house. I'm like, Keiko's filthy. Like, what the is wrong with this girl? And then it's like a little ways through, I go, oh no, this is the mom's house. Okay, this makes a lot more sense. Yeah, all right, yeah. This useless drunk woman. This is exactly, all right, this makes perfect sense to me. But yeah, no doctor, no hospital. Just gonna keep this corpse here in my living room in a futon.
Yep.
Well, even on a futon.
Yeah.
It was on
He's on the floor.
like, seriously, they took him out the coffin and
Like the steps you have to follow. They had to physically remove him from his coffin, transport him to. They didn't think to call a doctor. It's anime logic. All this can be.
Oh, and yeah, the crematorium. They're like, they're probably sitting there. It's like, the body was supposed to be here 3 days ago.
Dude, motherfucker's lucky he didn't get embalmed when they were like, you need your body back. That was my first thought. I'm like, he has to go get. Is he embalmed? Because this is gonna be weird. Thankfully, the mom didn't want that, but then, of course, when his heart started, let's not get him medical attention. Let's just put him on the floor.
He hasn't woken up yet. He's
Next to the old yakisoba containers and some books. It'll be fine.
It's no problem.
It's fine.
This adding to my distaste for the mom. Just useless character. Didn't even care to learn her name. I don't know if they ever gave her one. She was just mom in the first few episodes. Even Keiko called her mom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, hit by a car. No, he's dead, declared dead.
Yeah, at the scene.
And it's
He's
like,
dead.
oh yeah, he's got a heartbeat now.
He's dead at the scene. He's clearly been dead for at least 48 hours. And
at least.
So I took issue with it, but it was, and then of course the state of the house. And I'm like, you know what, Yusuke, you're better off dead. Just stay dead.
So once again, we're talking about the difference between like the previous things that we had watched before compared to this one. Remember how we lauded and we were so great at the science that they gave us in Gunbuster? Right?
Sure. Yeah.
This completely goes the opposite way.
Okay, but it's not 3x3 eyes bad.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not bad. But those few episodes are.
Those first 5 episodes, they test you. They test you. Those episodes. There's like, are you really into this? Are you sure you're into? It's like a Windows thing before you delete something. Are you sure?
Like we're making sure you're willing to put in the effort to watch.
Are you absolutely certain you want to keep watching this series? We are going to test you.
Once he starts fighting, I think it gets better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then it starts to build, but it's the build-up that you're just like, I forgot. I didn't see that part. I always just saw episode 1 and then the fighting. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is a great anime.
So it's the physics of the fight for me that's like, okay.
All right. I mean, but it's anime fighting, man. Like, all right. So one of the episodes I jumped ahead to, and I mean to cut you off. He's fighting a white tiger character over like a lava pit.
Cool, Barbara.
Yeah, there you go. That guy, totally. And yeah, anime physics hard in that one because this middle schooler is ripped like a WWE guy, and he's jumping from platform to platform. Like, look, man, at my prime, I could maybe jump 5 feet. This dude is clearing 20, 30-foot jumps. No big deal. But, it's anime physics. And this whole thing ramps up to a hard Dragon Ball with, the spirit weapons and the whole, like his Reiki gun, pointing his finger with his Reiki gun.
Hey.
Pew, pew.
Finger bang.
He doesn't load it or nothing.
It is rude, and he does it the whole time. He's just pointing at every... Didn't his mom... No, his mom's drunk. Never mind. His mom never told him it was rude to point. She told him to quit school because she's fucking useless.
Right? Tell him, don't go around finger banging people. It's bad.
That's it. That's all we can call it from now on. It's not a Reiki gun anymore.
Look, it's finger banging.
It's finger banging. That's it. Just finger banging.
His whole power is finger banging.
And they put the finger banging on everything. It's in all the marketing material. It's the finger banging's a big deal.
Like, I don't want to call a spirit gun no more.
No, it's not a spirit gun. It's finger banging.
I can imagine myself like watching the rest of the shows now. Anytime he says spirit gun, I'm going to say underneath my.
Oh man, you ruined it, Vic, or you improved it.
Wow, dude, that was probably the best thing you said this entire podcast. Like, I didn't know you had it in you. I did not know you had that in you, and I am so proud. I knew you win.
So there is this scene in episode 5 where he's awake now. And he's walking, and his hair is great because he doesn't have a greased back. He's just all falling down. He's walking down, and there's a fortune teller in an alley, and she calls him over. And we know it's Botan, right? But at the time, you're not 100%. It was this fortune teller in the alley, and I wrote down, isn't this how Maya became a sex slave in Cool Devices? But That was the note I wrote because it was very eerily similar. But no sex slaving for Yusuke, just spirit
Finger banging.
detective and finger banging.
Really impressed by that one.
That was very good. So I jumped to what was it, the season? I jumped around a lot. So I went to season 2, I did a little bit of season 3, and this show really sticks with these characters the whole way through, and it does a good job developing them because in the episodes I watched, even though I didn't get to watch the entire 112 episode run, the episodes I did watch were consistent with the character growth. Like it felt like Kuwabara, who I hated at the very beginning of the series, even in the handful of episodes I was able to watch, I was like, you know what, I like this guy a lot. He's cool, and by the end of the series, he is excellent. He's just a very well developed character. He's very much a Vegeta to the Goku in this series, and it's great. In fact, I think he's voiced in the English dub by the same actor. I think sounded like him. I watched it mostly in Japanese. I did jump around a little bit. A couple episodes I did watch in English just because Funimation had them, so I was clicking through and watching some stuff.
I remember how we were talking about the whole "I got to be the best" trope.
Yep.
Right now, we also see the whole rival trope.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? But then you start to see the whole "I have more than one rival,"
Mm-hmm.
because the same way that Kuwabara is his rival, eventually Hiei sees him as a rival too. The
Yep.
only one who doesn't, and I love the fact that they use Kurama as his name, because they're like, oh my gosh, he's a fox, just like the nine-tailed. I'm like, okay. Does he jump on the rival bandwagon too? Kurama, redhead rose guy.
No, I don't think he ever jumps into a rival piece. From when I watched further down, it's more like he just does his own thing. He doesn't really
Yeah.
care.
He sees him as an equal, but never like a rival. Like in some of the bits I saw him referring to Yusuke, it was more camaraderie than
Right.
than anything else. I don't think there was ever a rivalry there, which is good. I'm glad they didn't fall into that trope.
Well, the reason is that when he's doing his spirit detective thing, right?
Mhm.
And what has to happen is three demons escape from the underworld, and one of them is Kurama, the other one's Hiei, and then there's another guy who's over there. Yusuke beats the other guy, saves Kurama, and then fights Hiei. That's the order of. That's when it starts to become more Dragon Ball, and
Right. That's
No.
when the flip happens.
And that's when the flip happens.
And then they go straight to a tournament. I mean, it just ends up at a tournament. Like that's just
Pretty much.
But yeah, no, it leans hard. I don't want to say it leans hard on Dragon Ball because I guess Dragon Ball would have preceded this by almost a decade. So it does. It leans hard on a lot of the same Dragon Ball tropes. So I think that if you're a fan of that series, then this is definitely for you. I think it's in that same wheelhouse. I would argue that it's, despite the absurdity of the first few episodes and it being occult based, I would say it's a more grounded take on a Dragon Ball martial arts kind of thing. Just because Dragon Ball goes ape, literally apes,
Like astronomical.
right. This is more grounded, and it feels really weird saying it's grounded by a guy who finger bangs his opponents, but it is a more grounded martial arts series. So credit where credit's due there. I appreciated that. I mean, it's not realistic by any stretch of the imagination, but it was very entertaining.
There's a guy who fights with yo-yos.
Right.
The yo-yo fight is by far the thing. I was like, all right, stop, please. I'm going to use the yo-yo, and I'm going to basically pick you up with the yo-yos and slam you into the ground. And I'm showing you how high it is. You're human. Everybody else is a demon. This one, you should die. Oh my gosh. Oh, he does it 8 times? 9 times. Oh, we're just going to keep on doing it.
Down, girl. Down again, I say.
Gotta make sure they're down.
Yeah. That's when it starts to lose me,
Oh, but I mean,
because they don't show anything to show his durability should be up to this. You know,
So later on in the story, you find out that he's got a recessive demon gene in him, and that he is a descendant of a powerful person. So it's kind of the whole Super Saiyan heritage thing.
cool. Bob? Or,
Yusuke, is that? Never mind. Not. Was
did
he
not know
not
that part.
Yeah. Well, this comes later on. So spoilers, but come on, spoilers, dude. The show's from '94. So
About that. I was like, I didn't know that part, but
statute of limitations on spoilers is well past for the series.
fair enough. Fair enough.
but yeah, so if you stick with it more, again, this was from my hopping around. It he does have a reason for being so special. It's not just he was good character and he could finger bang. It had to do with he's got a heritage there. There's a lineage to it, and he's got this like recessive. Is basically X-Men. He's an X-Men, and his gene kicks in, and he's suddenly more.
Apparently he's not the best finger banger out there.
He's not.
There are
other finger bang. I see. I didn't catch any of those. So enlighten me.
I think in one fight, one guy does his whole hand, which is a very scary thing.
Yeah, that's messed up. This whole thing is going to be sexual euphemisms, so we may as well lean into it.
But he was a sexual pervert, so
yeah, and I mean, Kurobawa uses he pulls out his sword. It's a spirit sword he uses.
Grabs a little piece of
he
wood.
double
and
fists.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's
He double fists the sword.
Spirit way is what you're saying?
That's right. So we're gonna lean into the sexual assault. Let's do it. So there are other characters that do the Reiki finger bang, and that's an interesting thing. So it's a little early for it, but I do feel like I want to talk about it now. As I guess are you gonna stick with it? Are you gonna? Do you feel like let's do our roundup on this, even though it's a little early. I'll start. So for me, the animation is very rough at first, and if it were just the first 3 episodes, I would have quit and I would not have continued this series. But with a little more effort, you get through about 5 of them, and then the series really starts to pick up. The quality of the work does, the story does, and yeah, this holds up and is entertaining, and it's got some interesting character development in it, and I do recommend it. I think that if you got the time to dedicate to this and give it 1 a week, 1 or 2 a week, and stick to it, I think it's worth the trouble. It seems to be going in a good way, and I didn't want to end the series, so I didn't go so far as to do that, but the episodes I watched, it's consistently good. So I would recommend it. I do think it holds up. Lynette is a veteran to the YuYu Hakusho series, a resident expert on YuYu Hakusho, as it were. How do you feel about it?
With all the finger bang.
I'm glad I actually got to watch it in sequential order this time. That was very exciting because, like I said, I went from 1 to like 7 to 10 to season 2 because of how I was only able to get it. So being able to go through season 1 and go, oh, so that's how he became like the super macho bulky guy,
Right.
You go from one scene where he's just like this scrawny dude in a green jumpsuit to he's got this muscle, he's got this neck thing, and I don't know what's happening with him.
He dresses like a hobo and he's ripped.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I was able to talk you guys into it, and I'm glad I was able to refresh it. So again, I would definitely recommend. It's of its time. You're not going to get any current stuff in there, but
Yeah, it's definitely of its time. Brian, you how'd you feel about it? You gonna keep going with it?
Meh. Nah. I've seen this I've already seen it in Dragon Ball, and if it's not doing the same, I try to give it. I wanted to make sure I watched it complete. I wanted to make sure, and I actually made it through a couple of arcs before we got to the Dark Tournament, and I feel like they've done it better. All right, so I feel like they've done it better in Dragon Ball Z. I feel like in terms of character and just great characters, they do it better in Naruto. You know, and these are all things that have been on Toonami. So I think this one. Nah, I don't need it in my life.
All right. Cool.
Bring on the next one.
And you, Vic?
So something that, just to elaborate a little more on what Brian just said, the studio behind it, Studio Piero, whatever, I'm not sure exactly how they pronounce it, actually has a long lineage of long-running series. Series like Naruto and actually the Bleach series and a few others. It's the same studio. And I mean, they've been at it.
Yeah, if we're gonna do demons, we might as well do Bleach.
Yeah. I mean, you got series like Yurusei Yatsura, which had 195 episodes, and you know, they've done a lot. It's like I have it up right here on my screen right now, and it's like I had no idea they've done that much.
That's a ton.
So, you know, the examples Brian brings out, it's like, well, yeah, they did it better, but that's also, you know, they've had more experience at it by that time.
Fair point.
So, but as far as continuing, yeah, I think I'm going to continue. You know, I watch an episode here, watch an episode there, you know, where time permits, because, you know, as you know, bills need to get paid, you know, some of us have to actually work, so
squeeze one in where you can.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's, to Brian's point, because other shows exist, the Dragon Balls and the Narutos and the things like that. Is it in good company or is it outclassed?
If you ask me, I would say it's outclassed. We hadn't even begun to talk about the effect of being the effect of Bleach on this series, when it's basically the same thing with better weapons. You know, huh? And no
Bleach.
Yeah, I would have to definitely agree. If I was given a choice between watching Bleach or watching YuYu, it would be Bleach.
Oh, Bleach wins in a heartbeat.
Even their filler episodes, you know, I don't really like to watch filler episodes, but yeah, even those ones. But I feel like it's with YuYu, it's more like those summer B movies, you know, the one where you go and you're like, oh, it's $1. Let me go watch this one. It's just $1. You know, I'm just gonna go enjoy it.
So this is the USA Up All Night version of a series. If it happens to be on, you'll stop and watch it, kind of thing.
And I think that what happens is that, especially when we're talking about, I guess, storytelling from the 80s and 90s, they hadn't found a way to make all of them sing, or they flowed together. This one, I think we're going to continue to say that Gunbuster is by far one of the best ones in stories that we've come across. We haven't found anything that comes close to it. But because we've been watching Gunbuster, when a story doesn't make sense the way Gunbuster does for me, I get a little lit. It doesn't.
Sure, I get it. But I mean, come on. Now, sometimes you just want a McDonald's cheeseburger. All right, it's not always going to be Wagyu beef with bacon. Sometimes it's going to be a McDonald's burger, and sometimes it's what you want.
I'm saying YuYu is a spam burger.
Hey, I like spam.
I was gonna say, how dare you disrespect me like that?
Spam is a bad thing.
I would say
you have Wagyu, you have ground beef, and then you have squirrel, possum, and mouse.
All right, so this is like a rat burger, is what we're going with here. It's the greatest rat burger I've eaten.
But it's enjoyable too. You know, you enjoy it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, sure, Gunbuster is high art in my opinion. The bar is set, but you know, sometimes you want a Fast and the Furious movie as another callback to another series of things that we talked about.
You son of.
I have to say, I haven't gotten past the first one, so I have no idea.
The first Fast and the Furious?
Fast and the Furious is my Akira for
Just look. Get some liquor, sit down, and spend a day with the Fast and the Furious family. You will not regret it.
It starts off serious, and then it just goes balls to the wall. Like, really?
Right. It is.
We're in space now.
Literally, it's a bad, crazy series. But that's what I'm saying is like sometimes, yes, Gunbusters high art, but sometimes you just want to, watch something that's just silly, and right, like so. There's a place for all of these things. Nothing's gonna compare to the Gunbusters of the anime world, but sometimes you're okay with having fun and watching something that's just a little weird or a little offbeat. But you're saying that even then, just you're good.
I'm saying that I don't want to invest the time for 112 episodes. Like you said, 112 episodes. I was like, I'm not going to be that dude. I'll be able to point to everybody when they're doing the cosplay when we finally get to conventions.
Right, but you'll be like, oh, there's
I think you're doing there. Yeah. You win.
enough to catch the references and enough to catch the cosplay. Yeah. I get you. Yeah, I think that's as an adult, middle-aged person, and
I'm possibly a third of the way through already.
You are.
I'm pretty sure I'm at 30 episodes.
Okay, so you're basically you finished season 1.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep now, dude. I was watching it, and I was like, man, I can see why this was on Toonami late at night. This is what it was. This is for narcolepsy. Like, the fact that Vic was watching it and he's able to stay awake, that just shows me how bad of a condition he has.
Oh man, I'm gonna just gonna disagree with you there in saying that if you have room in your heart for something that's little silly, this is a show you can watch.
So this is the Sally Struthers. For 17 cents, you can watch this anime. And if you have room in your heart, you can watch another.
Adopted
anime. $3.99 a month. You can help this heartless anime person enjoy YuYu Hakusho at 3 a.m.
You
too. Playing terrible Blocklet music.
Yes, you too can sponsor this adorable anime for a low price of $3. Your monthly contribution goes to help poorly written anime characters find their story.
Room in your heart.
I just saying you can't write it off, right? It's not like YuYu obviously had an indelible effect on people. It's enough to spawn OVAs and movies, and they're gonna have a live action series or movie now on Netflix. So clearly, this made its mark on culture. So
for it too.
I mean, we can't just. Did you see a what?
There's a screenplay. They have it like live action in the theater where people could see it on the screen.
Watch YuYu Hakusho on Broadway. So clearly, I mean,
it's finger banged in Broadway.
I went to Broadway and I got finger banged. I feel like that's a shirt that needs to happen. YuYu Hakusho.
Spirit finger bang in the 90s. Oh, not spirit finger. Spirit fingers.
Oh, dying.
Oh man. So all I'm saying is that culturally this has had an impact. Clearly it was a huge success. So it's if you have the time to invest in it and you're not falling asleep at a middle-aged person like I am, then
you were falling asleep.
No, I'm just saying as an old man, I fall asleep earlier than I used to,
Oh, so you weren't saying that you fell asleep while you watched it?
Not this, no.
You're saying that as somebody who is seasoned and has paid multiple taxes, right. Your time is precious. And You go to bed early is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's what what
What you're
yes.
saying.
That's what
Not
I'm
that
saying.
this show could possibly
No,
be a sleep aid.
No, this is not the cure for insomnia.
Ah.
But
Think
should you
your
need
mind.
one, that movie's called Insomnia. But this is, I'm saying that it's worth it culturally. And I'm not saying it's a cultural high bar. We've already established that. Gunbusters elevates the status of anime as a format. Other anime do the same thing. Nausicaa, anything from Studio Ghibli, just elevating the product, elevating the format to something that's high art. This ain't high art. This is the McDonald's burger. This
I will
is
say this is the Babylon 5 to Star Trek.
okay. I'll give you that. I'm
Okay.
not Babylon 5 fans are going to come down hard on you, and I'm okay with that. But I will give you that. All right.
Well, they can get me at. They can find me at kaiju_geek
I will send them right back to you.
So yeah, sometimes you're just on your way home and you need to hit the drive-thru, and McDonald's is all that's open. So you get your YuYu Hakusho burger and you go home. That's all.
You say fritter? I feel better saying more of a YuYu Hakusho fritter.
All right,
Yeah.
fine.
A fritter.
So this is. I don't know how to follow it up. I think that's it. I think that's all I've got. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to say about YuYu Hakusho?
We talked about his about Yusuke's mom. We haven't even brought up who about his sister.
You're not wrong. I feel like go ahead because I had limited interactions with that character. It's since I didn't see as many episodes as you, so you're gonna have to guide the way on this one, B.
I guess the biggest problem with me is the tropes that we were talking about now, right?
Sure.
We have been talking about the whole rivalry. We talked about the hero needs to be the best.
Yep.
We're talking about the whole fighting genre, and the biggest problem is that for me is that you've seen it. Oh my gosh, one-on-one person's going to fight, and everybody else going to stand on the sideline. One person's going to scream out, "You need me to come in and help you," just for the person who's fighting to say, "I got it. You stay on there," and you still need to get whipped just for at the last minute. You pull something out of your ass that has nothing, so that this should have worked.
The classic. You should have led with that technique.
Yeah. But because of the fact that you had enough room in your heart and somehow some character arc happened where we said, well, I remember when I was thinking about this, and maybe now's the time where I'm going to apply the move I've never used before, or I haven't been I'm sorry. I have never been successful in using it.
I'm so desperate. I'm going to use this thing that has.
I'm going to use that one.
Ever.
And room in my heart. That's the biggest problem for me with this whole trope is I've seen where they've taken it from or how far they've gone with it as opposed to where we are right now. And I just don't feel like investing into that. Oh, this is where we started from? Oh, I see that we're all the way over here. Nah, I'll just stay over here. I don't need to drive a stick shift.
You don't want the origin story?
Well, I mean, this is consistent, right? Like Dragon Ball Z. Let's compare it to Dragon Ball Z, something that everybody that has ever watched anime has at least experienced to a degree, right? And Dragon Ball Z does all these tropes. Hell, it's the grandfather of all these tropes, and it doesn't diminish people's love for Dragon Ball, though, right? Like Goku can spend 7 episodes straight generating a spirit bomb and somehow not get attacked, but we're very forgiving of it because everyone on Earth loved and had room in their heart to give him some of their energy so he could drop a spirit bomb the size of Jupiter onto whoever the bad guy of the week was.
You know what? there's not a lot of room in their heart being used in super dimensional forces Macross. That's all I want to know.
It was all heart, damn it. And we're gonna get to that.
So is that what we're going to call this episode? Is there room in your heart for finger banging? Please tell me that's the name of this episode.
That's where we'll end it. Yeah, we'll end this. If you have room in your heart for a little bit of finger banging and maybe some light, then this show can be for you. Oh man! So I guess you know what? I think it's gonna be our show for today.
I'm done.
Good. So until next time, keep calm and never finger bang your opponent without consent.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.